Hello, I'm ArchieLuxury and welcome to the ArchieLuxury channel, and today I want to introduce Sydney Harbour. Sydney Harbour, this fantastic, magnificent waterway in Australia's leading capital city. That's right, Sydney, New South Wales is the most populated state of Australia, and the capital of New South Wales is Sydney. Sydney itself is famous for its harbour. The harbour itself connects the city through a vigorous ferry system comprising of catamarans and ferries and super ferry cruises. Sydney Harbour is also famous for the Sydney Harbour Bridge, a bridge completed in the 1930s as a project to link Sydney with North Sydney, as well as creating employment in depressionary times. Sydney is also famous for the Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House itself is one of the landmark buildings of the world. One of the seven wonders of the world. The Opera House itself is built on a site which used to be a tram depot. That's right. The site of the Opera House itself there is now famous the world over for being just absolutely perfectly placed in Sydney itself there. The Opera House, famous for musicians, the world renowned of the highest possible standards. The Opera House was started in the late 50s, early 60s, and finally completed in the early 1970s. The Sydney Opera House itself, one of the legendary buildings of the world. The great thing about Sydney Harbour is this beautiful waterway which links Sydney together. Brisbane has the Brisbane River, a kind of a brown, sludgy sort of river, whereas Sydney has this beautiful harbour which kind of explains the magnificent place that is Sydney itself there. Sydney is famous the world over for this beautiful waterway, although I probably wouldn't go swimming in it. Sydney itself there is absolutely renowned the world over for its harbour, its fantastic opera house, and the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This area around the harbour itself there, the central point in this area on the harbour is Circular Quay. This is a train station as well as a ferry terminus for catching all the different ferries in Sydney. Sydney Harbour itself here is sort of the most central point. The old Sydney of yesteryear, the Rocks area, known as the Rocks area because many of the early buildings were built out of sandstone, hence the name the Rocks. This greatly historic area has enjoyed protection since the 1970s when it became a national treasure. The Rocks area, this is really old Sydney, leads on to many of the wonderful places that have become Sydney the world has loved ever since. Let's go for a bit of a let's go for a ferry ride. Let's go and check out this ferry's going to Mosman, which is a Northern Shore suburb. This is a great area known for expensive houses, wealthy individuals, and the Blue Rinse Liberal Party set. Liberal as in Conservative Party. These are the capitalist end of town. Sydney itself there is a very materialistic place, and the harbour itself just enforces this. If you've got water views, you got water views. That's what you want. You want really good water views in Sydney. This is what separates the wheat from the chaff. You need these water views, and Sydney itself there, everybody wants a bit of water in their life, and this is what they want. They want to see the harbour. They want to see just life out and about, the wonderfulness that is Sydney itself there. Let's take a ferry ride and let's come back. Okay, coming back in. We're coming back from a ferry. We've just come over from Mosman. We've gone past the Sydney Harbour Bridge. We've gone past the Sydney Opera House, and now we're coming into Circular Quay, this fantastic depot here where ferries run by Sydney Transport. This is the main central station for the ferry terminal operation here. Circular Quay, this is a area where the trains connect with the ferries. So this is a very important point for many Sydney-siders on their quest to earn dollars on their daily grind of life. And this here is a beautiful, beautiful point here. The ferries come in and you're ready to dock within moments. Very well done, Sydney Transport, for such a wonderful part. To see the buildings, to see the Opera House, to see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, this is Sydney at its finest.